Hello and welcome to a story time of the shortest flirtationship I've ever had. It's a story about a man that I did not date. I did make a short form summary-ish video version for Instagram. It's on there. I think there's 4 parts. I haven't edited it. I just finished recording it. And now we're gonna go into the dirty details. I have looked through my calendars. I've looked through my text messages. I've looked through photos. I have dates. This is the story. I met this guy through some friends on May 30th. We had like a game night at someone's house, and it was the first time he and I ever met each other. I thought he was like attractive looking. I didn't think much else of it. We kind of stayed apart like most of the night. There was one part where we were playing Mario Party, and it was like at the end of the game, so the winner had already been determined. So I was like, hey, let me show you how to read the map, right? And I'm like, come here. And then I like bring him up to the TV, and I'm showing him like, if you put your arrow this way or this way, it shows you on the top how many spaces until you reach the star. And that was like our only interaction. Other than that, I did bake cookies that day, and he did tell me after when we started texting each other that he loved the cookies and he stole like most of it for himself, and he took them home, which is kind of cute. He also totally lied to me when we started texting, which is gonna come up later. He was like, tell me your first impressions of me and like tell the truth or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I will if you will. And I was like, I thought you were cute, but I didn't really think much of it. I didn't, and then he's like, I didn't really notice you and you aren't my type, but I really enjoyed your cookies. And then his friend who we met through told me after the fact, he thought you were cute. And I was like, so he lied to me. So that was May 30th. Nothing else happened. June 6th, I had the Fullerton 5K, which there's a video of it somewhere on my page. It was my first 5K. I was so proud of myself. I woke up with a hurt neck and I walked the whole thing because I didn't realize it was a trail run, but you can watch that whole video here. A week after, so I was like at the peak of my fitness. A week after, we go to karaoke on June 12th. It was fine. It was fun. It was amazing. Everybody got to hang out. Everybody let loose. There was a lot of alcohol involved. And then we went to like a tofu house after just to sober up. And he sat diagonally across from me. We had a table of 6, so 3 by 3. I was sitting across from the girl who introduced us. She's sitting next to the guy who she kind of liked and introduced the boys to us girls. And then he was sitting next to that guy, and then I had 2 guys sitting next to me, right? So he's sitting the farthest corner away from me. And the whole entire meal, he kept like looking over at my food and being like, when are you done? Can I help you finish? Meanwhile, one of his friends who's passed out sitting next to me, he has a full bowl of tofu soup and rice. And I'm like, eat his food. I'm not done with mine. But he kept like trying to reach across the table, trying to steal my banchan. And like, I actually saw that he was done eating, so I stole some of his like fish cakes, and then he would like started fighting me for them, and we were like across the table, diagonally across the table, the farthest you can sit from someone. And he was doing that, and I was like, whatever, he's whatever. Like, I didn't even think anything of it. But after, the girl tells me, he wanted your food, not that guy's food, because he wanted your saliva in his mouth. I'm like, girl, what are you even talking about? Like, we haven't interacted. He's no big deal. But she planted a seed in my brain. I could not stop thinking about him. Okay? He's a very attractive and cute looking person, right? Also, he's very tall. I found out later he's way too tall for my preference. He's 6'3". I'm 5'8". His chin is here. His head is like way up there. I have to look all the way up to see him. He's too tall for me. 4 days later, we all planned to get Korean barbecue. And I spent the whole night staring at him just to see if like I could vibe anything from him. We started the night. He was the last to arrive, and then I like sidled up next to him outside. I was like, "Hey, so I heard that you like cook," because he works like a Korean barbecue place. And he's like, yeah. I was like, could I sit next to you? And he's like, no, go sit next to the other guy who will also be cooking. And I told the girls after in the car, they were all like, what? Who says that? Is he trying to get away from you? He told me after that was his version of flirting. And I was like, boy, that was me trying to sit next to you. I ended up sitting across from him. So it was me, the girl, and then him and the guy that she likes. So the four of us had a table, the other 4 people had a table. So like the 4 of us were kind of like flirting, drinking and stuff, all night. Didn't really think much of it. I had already started losing my voice at that point because we had a karaoke, right? I was super strained, and the fact that we kept going out and keep drinking and like staying out past midnight, my voice did not have a chance to heal. You could actually hear that I'm still like a little raspy versus like my voice is super deep right now compared to my usual voice when I do videos, which is like girlier. I spent the whole night staring at him. He barely looked at me all night. It's fine, right? It's fine. And the girls and I talked about it in the car afterwards, and we're like, oh yeah, he's just being an idiot. It's okay if he's not interested. But I didn't realize it was the day right after, because it felt like so much happened in between. But the day after, girl and I, we go to the singles night event in Anaheim. It was a flop. She and I were like the only 2 women there, and there was about 10 or 15 men before the event had even started. At that point, she and I looked at the bartender, and the bartender was like, and we left. But before we left, I was like, hey, text guy and see if he and his friend will come. And that was the best decision we've ever made. He drove an hour to come see us in traffic, and he was late, so guy like called him, and he was like, oh, the traffic. It was kind of funny, kind of cute. So the 4 of us were sitting at a 4-top, them 2 on one side and me and him on the other side, right? And somehow we've had a little too much to drink. Okay, so we ordered a bunch of food. I wanted kimchi fried rice. I also wanted tteokbokki. And then when he arrived, they ordered army stew. So the 4 of us are sitting there, and we've had a little bit to drink. And because he's cute and he's Korean and he speaks Korean, the waiter keeps gifting us a free bottle every time we order like 2 or 3, right? We've had a little too much to drink. Girl and I have gone to the bathroom a few times to discuss. And we're like, stop. I can't stop. Like, we're being girls. We're being girly girls. Like, I can't help it when a guy is cute, okay? Somehow, he and I end up holding hands under the table. Don't tell me how that happened. I have no idea. To this day, I still have no recollection of how it started. But we end up holding hands the entire rest of the evening. And a few times he puts his arms around my shoulder. He's like, oh, are you cold? He feels my arm and he's like, oh, you're cold. I'm always warm. I'll be your personal heater. This is stuff that he repeats, things that he has repeated, which is like super cute. And I'm like totally falling for this. He says, I will be your personal heater because he runs hot. I am your biggest fan because tallest fan, because I had woken up and I was complaining about a fan. He's like, I'm your tallest fan. Oh my gosh. And the other day I was saying how like I'm gonna stand in your shade because he's so tall. He's like, I will be your personal shade. This guy's like obsessed with me in like a cute way, right? That night we exchanged numbers because girl and I were like, how come you don't ask Catherine out? I was like, yeah, ask me out. And he's like, here, and then he gives me his phone and I put my number in, and then I add him on Discord, like all on his phone. And then I add him on Instagram. And this is where I mess up. I don't add people on Instagram. My private Instagram is very private. I only have 50 people following me on there, less than 50 people. Everyone on there has been somebody I've known from high school or my Disney days, starting from like 2012-ish. So everyone on there has known me for over a decade. He's brand new. I shouldn't have added him. So I'm eating, right? And I ended up like, I don't want to finish my food. There's a little bit of rice left. And then he takes my dish, my bowl, and he finishes my food. I told him after the fact because he ended up getting sick and I had already started losing my voice. It was day 4 after karaoke. So I was already raspy. Going out, this is the second time after karaoke that we've gone out and we've drunk and stayed up past midnight. He got a cold after. I told him, I was like, brother, there was 3 half full dishes of food on the table still, and you had to eat my leftovers? And he's like, oh, there was? I didn't even realize. Girl told me, bruh, he has tunnel vision for you. And I'm like, yeah, it makes me kind of giddy to think about, He tries to drive me home. It was 1 a.m. I came with girl. I was not going to leave in somebody else's car. He was probably going to try to get some smooches. What he doesn't know is I haven't kissed anybody in over a year, because that was when my last boyfriend was. His friend was like talking to the girl like, oh, they totally would have made out, but he doesn't know the insider information that I have not kissed anyone, and I will not kiss anyone. But I do wonder, like, maybe if I did hop in his car, like, we would have like developed more. But it's okay, things are fine. As I started with the story, I am not dating this man. It's just a fun story time. So we get home. He texts me he's home. He says he's looking forward to going out with me. And we proceed to text on and off for the next few weeks. He says multiple times, get better so we can hang out. Now, not to nitpick, but go out versus hang out is a little bit different, but it's not important, right? He just says he wants to spend time with me. He wants me to get better because I lost my voice. June 23rd, 1 week after, the 17th, my voice is still not back. It's been 2 whole weeks since I've had a sore voice, and that night it was like super crackly and like I could barely get anything out. I was like talking like this most of the night. We do all you can eat sushi. He shows up late, which is totally fine, and we're like a little bit cute, kind of flirty. He's kind of standoffish, but we're sitting next to each other, the same seating arrangement. Actually, I was sitting across from the guy friend, and the girl was diagonal from me. And like the guy, when we sat down, he was like, ask me anything you want about friend. And I'm like, no, anything I should learn about him will be from him. I'm not going to get insider information. And he's like, respect. And then cute guy shows up. And we're eating, and we're like a little bit fighting over the food, but not that much. But we're kind of like flirting with each other a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. And then we go to mini golf. Throughout mini golf, a third boy shows up. So there's 3 guys and us 2 girls. And the 3 of them are like off ahead, and they kept like going ahead instead of waiting for us. The third guy that shows up, he's our favorite. He is such a sweetheart. He waited for us a few times. He actually helped me grab my bag because I would leave it on like a bench to do the shot, and then I would go back and grab it. He grabbed it for me a few times. He would wait for us a few times. We love him. All the girls and I, we talked about it. He's the best. The boys, not as much. But they kept leaving us behind. And then at the end of the golf session, which is kind of really fun, we're like standing around after we go to the bathroom, and they're like, oh, we should go do something. And I'm like, this is like probably the last thing. I'm so tired. I'm super drained. And they're all on their phones. I feel like they were all on their phones during mini golf, but they deny it. And they're like, oh, we're just looking for places to, places to go after. We go to a milk tea place, and I just fully just like put my head down when I'm at the milk tea place because I'm drained. I needed to go home ASAP. And so this is where the story kind of diverges. Everybody has a different point of view. From my point of view, the boys were talking about what they should do next, and girl and I are going to go home after this. And all 3 of them are on their phones looking places up. But I was sitting next to him the entire time. I saw him on Discord. I saw him tip-tapping. He was typing an essay over there in the car, at the boba place, during mini golf. He denies this, but oh well, whatever. I saw Discord on his phone, but who cares? So we separate. We go home. Yeah, he and I are texting later, and he's like, I was saying how like, oh, you text boys all night, and he got really offended by that, and he was like, you're accusing us of texting all day. It was because like you were so drained and you had your head down, you had no energy. Next time, don't go out with us if you don't have energy. I'm like, whoa there, mister. You guys were texting the entire time, and you kept going off by yourself. While we were at the golf, they were planning to have a July 4th hangout a whole week, and that was a whole week and a half after mini golf. So they were like, the guy friend was like, Catherine, get better so you can play on July 4th. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you gotta save yourself. And I'm like, what does save yourself mean? That's such a weird thing to say. Guy got kind of offended. He was blaming me for him being on his phone. And I'm like, whatever, I'm not gonna fight him about it, like our different points of view. He thinks that he was only on his phone because he was looking for somewhere to go, and I saw him texting the whole time. So whatever, it's not a big deal. It's annoying, but it's not a big deal. I decided with this guy to complain only to the girls and don't tell him that he's being stupid. So another week of healing, because the Friday after, which is July 3rd, we were gonna do karaoke, right? On Monday, on June 29th, I know his day's off. So I messaged him in the morning. I was like, hey, I'm going to go do a thing right now. And I need food after. Do you want to get lunch? And he says, I can't. I'm busy. And I'm like, okay. An hour later, he goes, how about tomorrow? Like, this is all through text, and he's using like cute emojis trying to be cute. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Today's my mom's birthday. Tomorrow we're actually doing like a dinner for her, so I can't tomorrow. The thing I said was, let's get something on the books. And he's like, yeah, let's do that. He doesn't respond for like 3 whole hours. And then he asked me like, oh, what's your availability? So I tell him like, oh, I can do, you know, Saturday or next week, blah, 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 and my birthday. And then he doesn't respond. And I ended up getting lunch with girl because I needed lunch. And we talk about this. And I show her the messages. And she's like, what is up with him? So she's doing very well with her dating life. She's got men texting her, men calling her. I'm like, good for you, girl. I'm not actively searching for a man right now. This cute guy just happened to drop into my lap. And I was open to it. I end up calling him on my drive home. And this is what happens. He doesn't pick up, okay? And then he goes, busy at the moment, why'd you call? I don't respond until I get home because I was driving. I wrote, was driving, thought it would be quicker to have a conversation than messaging back and forth. Never mind now. And then he responds, yeah, can't really call when I'm busy. And this is how I usually text. Just text whenever, can't 100% be texting. Reply whenever I'm free. That's it. So that was June 29th. I stopped messaging him back that day. Oh, but the previous night, he was like, don't forget, this Friday, July 3rd, we're doing karaoke at 10 o'clock, okay? But then June 29th, this whole thing blows up. I don't talk to him for a few days because why would you talk to someone who talks to you like that, right? And I'm like, that's so not cool. And also on that whole entire Monday, he was in Discord. I'm in their friend group, and I see him in there. He's streaming his screen. He's playing Valorant, and then he's playing MapleStory. Like, you're not that busy. You can take a 5-minute phone call, bruh. But he chooses not to. So that's where his priorities are, which is totally fine, you know? It is awkward. The girls and I started talking on the side. We're like, what do we do? What do we do? Girlfriend at this point is like, I kind of want to break off from guy because, you know, he said he just wants to be friends. And then, like, we're still friends, but then they should have taken a break between not dating and friendship, but they didn't. So she was still in her feels, and he was making moves on other women in front of her, which is not cool. Kind of sucks. And I was like, you know what? This is a good time. We should drop them. But I accidentally had my own thing going on. I ended up going into the call on Wednesday, the July 1st. And I'm like, hey guys, is karaoke still happening? Guy and I haven't talked. I think he's mad at me, so I don't know if karaoke is happening. So they confer, and they were like, at first they were like, oh no, that thing's canceled. But then they get back to me like a few hours later, and they're like, yeah, it's still on. See you Friday. I'm like, bet. And then the day after, I was like, hey, is girl invited? Because I know you guys are all like in a fight right now. Also, all the girls want to come. And they're like, okay, great. So that's Thursday. And then Friday, we do karaoke. And this is the story that I told on Instagram. So there's us 4 girls and then 3 guys. But guy I like is late because he was working first. So 2 guys, it's an L-shaped couch. Two guys are sitting across. The girls and I are on this L, and then the door is on this side. So he comes in, and there's about like 8 feet of empty seat next to me, or he could sit with his friends. He sits down next to me in this big empty area, and like, I did make that happen. I did like make everyone like push in. I'm gonna leave a space open for him. Girl told me he could have just made his friends move down, but he wanted to sit next to you. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. He was being so cute, and like at that point, like we hadn't talked in a bit. We hadn't talked since he got mad at me on Monday. His behavior was so cute, and he thought that I was like I didn't like him or something, but the entire night I was like doing this and like hiding behind one of the girls that I was sitting next to, and his friend across saw me, was like, bruh, you are head over heels for him. And I'm like, he's just so cute, I can't help it. I ended up getting a ride from his friend. So after karaoke, after food, he and I actually talked in the car for like 2 hours about his friend. And he's like, you got to make moves. He did tell me some insider information that I had not wanted to hear. And now I know some insider information, so I could like use that to my advantage. So this is July 3rd. We do karaoke, and then afterwards we get soup. This is the soup place that I've been wanting to eat, but they went without me because I was unable to speak. And he's sitting across from me, and it's fine. Like, we barely talk to each other. But then at the end, I was like, hey, can we go to his house? And the guys are like, but then they said, like, one of the girls was like, no, we gotta go home, and that just like shut everyone else down for the night. But the girl doesn't remember saying that, and I don't remember hearing that either. So turns out we could have gone to his house, and I would have gotten to spend more time with him, but we didn't. So we left, and I ended up talking to a friend for 2 hours. We were talking about him, and he was like, are you like totally like head over heels for him? I was like, he's just very, very, very cute, and everything made me blush. So I kept like hiding my face and like being all giddy about it. He's like, you guys are freaking adorable. Like, it's crazy. Like, he thinks you're cute, you think he's cute, blah blah blah. And I'm like, but he's just not very communicative. Like, he doesn't really like texting, and for me that's like, since we haven't been able to go out, I need the texting. And he's like, yeah, that's just how he is. He's really closed off at first, but like, he even made note of how, like, you know, he like divulged some information when you asked him, and he doesn't usually open up to people like that quickly. I was like, well, that's just who I am. So friend and I ended up talking for like hours about Guy. And then the next night, it was a game night with the boys. The girls got disinvited because a girl was having beef with guy friend. But I was welcomed. So what ended up happening, they messaged me like, I think in the afternoon, and was like, change of plans. We don't know where we're gonna have this party. And I'm like, bet. Let me take care of this. I text Guy. I was like, hey, so if you'll host at your place, I will make you food. And I sent him a picture. I was like, I'll make some spam musubi fried rice right now. I just started cooking the rice. And he's like, no, my place is messy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you better start cleaning, boy. If you don't, I'm putting my knife away, because I was about to start cutting the spam. He's like, okay, I'm cleaning. And I sent that to his friend who messaged me about the location change. He's like, bruh, you're working your magic. And then like an hour later, I'm already cooking, and I get the news, oh, we're having it at this other friend's house. I'm like, you skate by this time, but you have to pick me up. And so he's like, okay. And everyone else is like, bro, girl, work your magic. He picks me up, and I'm like, you know, you don't really ask me about myself. I did the 5K with my parents at the end of June, and nobody asked me about it. We were texting that morning, and you didn't even ask me how it went, because you were like, why are you awake? And I said I was doing the 5K with my parents. And he's like, how was the 5K? And I told him how proud I was of my parents, and like the whole video is here if you want to watch it too. And he was like smiling the whole time. And then we were chatting the whole ride there. Well, I was talking. I made him ask me questions because he like never asked me anything. I was talking the whole ride there, and he kept getting not lost, but he kept almost missing the turn. I'm like, we got to turn there. I was watching the GPS. And he's like, he gets distracted while driving if we're talking. I thought that was kind of cute. I don't know if it was just because it's me, or he's just like that in general. He was like sitting across from me most of the night, and then halfway through, we discovered the couch has like the cool legs that go up. And so I'm like, and he saw it, and he's like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I patted the empty spot next to me. I'm like, come sit here. But okay, when we first got there, I sat next to Guy friend. Okay, because Guy friend and I had bonded the previous night, and I sat next to him. It was the only empty space on the couch. And he and I were like, you know, like joshing each other, like poking each other in the elbows or hitting each other on the arm and stuff, right? And then, so I ended up switching seats with someone, and I got to the edge, and then he joined me in the newly open empty spot. and we were kind of like very, very close. We're kind of like touching, our shoulders were touching, and then at one point he just kind of like laid down, not across me, but like in front of me because I had my knees up. And guy friend was like, oh my gosh, look how cute they are, look how cute they are. I found out after he did not enjoy that. He doesn't like the comments. Okay, that night we go home and we are talking. He's parked in front of my house and we are talking for a pretty long time. I think we talked till 2:30ish, and you know, it was kind of cute. We got to get to know each other a little bit more. Based on the insider information I found out from the previous night, I told him some of my good things that I like to do in relationships, some of my conflict resolutions, because I had heard he has issues with conflict in his previous relationships. I tell him like, oh yeah, your friend and I were talking for a really long time last night, and he's like, what were you guys talking about? And I'm a very honest person. I straight up have told him multiple times. Every time he's like, what are you guys even talking about? I'm like, we're talking about you and how much I like you. I told him the previous night his friend had told me that we both kind of like each other, but I have to be the one to make moves. And I'm like, why do I have to make the move? I'm the girl. I think he enjoyed that. We ended up planning our first date for Monday, July 6th, which is last Monday, a week ago. We went to Cheesecake Factory. I had listed a bunch of things I wanted to eat, and then I was like, I also like, you know, Americanized, and I mentioned Cheesecake Factory, and he got really excited about that. He's like, I've seen TikToks, I wanted to go to Cheesecake Factory. And it's so funny because during, before, and after, he was saying like, we got to try a different menu item next time. So we go there, okay? And here's the thing. I don't like sitting facing the room in the restaurant. I like my back facing the restaurant because I get easily distracted. I'm probably on some spectrum somewhere, okay? He thinks the woman should sit on the booth side because it's more comfortable. I like to sit on the chair side because my back needs support. And we get there and I want to sit in the chair, but he wouldn't let me. He freaking pulls out the chair and sits down in it, and he makes me sit on the inside where the booth is. And the hostess was there the whole entire interaction, and I did not enjoy that. So I got distracted by everyone who walked in. We were also facing the bar. I got distracted by the two TVs that were playing soccer, and I was distracted by the two older women having a lovely lunch sitting next to us, okay? I was barely able to focus. I was barely able to talk the entire lunchtime. It was awkward. And I realized during this meal that I am shy around him. It was a nighttime. It was our first time like interacting during the daytime, and we didn't have alcohol to lube us up, because usually it's a drinking situation, partying with friends, right? This is the first time he and I has been one-on-one for the whole entire duration. There's nobody else involved. Nobody else is coming, right? So I was shy. I was awkward. I didn't really want to yell across the table, and I kept getting distracted every time someone walked by. I'm so sorry. I have to use this fan right now. It is suddenly incredibly humid. So it didn't go that great. I feel like we barely talked the entire time, and then even on the drive home, like, it was kind of awkward. That night that he dropped me off, we hugged for the first time in the car, because I asked him, were you upset last night after soup when I didn't hug you? And he's like, yeah, it felt like a rejection. And I was like, no, I always want to hug you. I just don't want to do it in front of other people. And he's like, I get it. I'm the same way. I don't like when we're all like buddy in front of other people. I'm like, okay. And then so he's like, it was so cute when he did that. And then we hugged, and like, it's interesting to describe, but like as we hugged, we both kind of like melted more into the hug, and it was like a really, really good hug. It's been a long time since I've hugged anyone, so it was so, I get like blushy when I think about this. After he pulled away, he's like, I wonder if you're a good kisser. And I was like, you're never gonna find out, because if we kiss, we're gonna start falling in love, and we don't want that, because we hadn't even gone out yet, because we're going out on Monday. And that was Saturday. So we get back from Cheesecake Factory, and while we were there, he was like, what else are you doing today? And I'm like, nothing, this was it. And he's like, well, I'm going out with my friends tonight. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, so we're definitely not going to do anything else after this, which is totally fine. And we would get back, we talk for a little bit. I let him in to use the restroom, and then he leaves. We hugged like 2 more times, and that was it. And I was like, oh, that was kind of a bummer. I report back to the girls. I was like, it's kind of weird. But like, no, based on the previous 2 days, the 4th and the 5th, I had already kind of started losing interest in him. Kind of like, I don't think he's what I'm looking for, you know, because of the texting preferences and stuff like that. And, you know, he's just not showing me any type of attention, like the type of attention that I prefer. So I had already started losing interest in him. And this was kind of like, not the final nail, but it was definitely one of the nails. And I was like, okay, that's great. We found out. But, you know, when we're not interacting, I have this beautiful picture in my head. He's totally cute and I really like him. Just based on my imagination, which kind of, I need to stop letting my imagination do all of the work. The next day, girl and I are going to Disneyland. It's my birthday week. We were originally gonna go with the 2 boys, but she had a falling out with guy. And I couldn't ditch her because she already took time off. I wanted to go with my guy. But we weren't going to let them third wheel, and I guess it couldn't be just the 2 of us because I wasn't going to ditch her because she took time off for us. I feel like if I had asked, she probably would have said yes, but I didn't want to put her out, you know. I'm that type of person. She's that type of person. We didn't want to do that to each other, you know, choosing a boy over a girl. He texted me the entire day. Halfway through the day, he's like, my apartment is ready. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, you can come over. And I'm like, tell me when and where, brother. I am very receptive to his attention throughout the day. He's texting me cute things all day. He gets really excited every single time he's talking to me. But like up to this point, anytime he would text me, he would be like really like excited while we were texting, and then just suddenly after 15 to 30 minutes just suddenly stop replying. And that was the thing that was like bothering me the most. And I'm like, what the heck? It just feels like you dropped off the edge of the earth or something. That last week we text back and forth a bunch. We bring up a few more food things. On my birthday, he texts me at 2:30 in the morning, happy birthday, because the previous week when we were at the soup place after karaoke, he's like, I put your birthday in my calendar, and he like flashed his calendar and showed it to me. So I asked him, like, after we got home, I texted him, I was like, what are you gonna do with that information? He's like, wish you happy birthday, of course. And so at 2:30 on my birthday morning, he sent me a happy birthday with a bunch of emojis. And I'm like, thank you, did you get me anything? And he's like, I'll buy you food. And I'm like, yes. And I tell him like I want skewers, and he's like, I'll look into it, right? That day, it's my birthday, right? I go out, I go like get the freebies. I go to Ulta, I go to Sephora, I go to Bath and Body Works, I go to Starbucks just to get my birthday freebies for the day of. So I'm like busy throughout the day, but I'm texting him, and every time he texts me, he's like sending a barrage of like texts, and he's very excited, and he's responding to everything, and he's having conversations, which I'm like, this is a good sign. This is really interesting. Maybe my friend was right. She said maybe he'll show more interest after you go out on your first date, which is kind of weird because I was like, our date didn't go well. And then that night, all of a sudden he sends me a message that said, when did you remove me from Instagram? And I was like, oh, did you just notice? And he's like, yeah. I was like, that was over a week ago when you stopped texting me. And he's like, oh. I was like, yeah, you don't get access. And he's like, I don't need access. And I'm like, if you want to hear, I can recap you. And he's like, no, I'm good. And then he kind of stopped texting that night. But then the next morning, I like talk about food some more. And then I sent him a screenshot of like this area near where I live, and I circled a bunch of the restaurants that like the American chain restaurants that he was talking about previously. I was like, look, here's Chili's, here's Applebee's, here's BJ's, here's Olive Garden. He's like, oh my gosh, those are all the places I want to go. Also, it has that one Korean barbecue. He's like, this is the Korean barbecue that I wanted to go to, but we ended up going to that other place instead, and that other place none of us liked. And then I was like, no way, I had suggested this. And he's like, oh yeah, Guy was the one who said no to that one. And he scrolled through his text messages with that guy and was like, send me screenshots, and he was like showing me. And I was like, that's just so funny. So he's like, yeah, let's get food. But as we know, you can't take potential to the bank. These are all suggestions. This is nothing set in stone. We did not set anything up. I was hoping really hard that he would have set something up for Friday or Saturday, or like today, Monday, but he didn't. Around 5 o'clock on Friday the 10th, right? He goes to work around that time, so he stops messaging me. But he stops messaging me. Because previously, he would like not message me when he goes to work, which is totally fine. And he would, all of a sudden at 10 o'clock when he gets off work, he would just reply to everything that happened that day. Because like my mom and I went to Applebee's on my birthday, and I was like, oh look, I'm at Applebee's with my mom, and I sent him like a Pokemon thing, and he sent me like he sent me like 8 messages back at like 10, and I was like, oh, okay, great, he's still interested in talking to me, this is really cute, I'm enjoying this attention. But after that, on the 10th, he doesn't message me. On the 11th, I think I sent him 3 things throughout the entire day. I could see him reading my messages. This is why I turn off read receipts on my end, but apparently if you have read receipts turned on, I can see when you read my message, which kind of sucks. I don't want to see when anybody reads my message. I don't need that in my head. He's reading my messages all day. He does not reply. So that's the 11th, Saturday. The whole entire day, nothing from him. And I found out from guy friend the previous night that they're all going to his house on Saturday, and I wasn't invited, which is totally fine. On Sunday, I'm like, I messaged his friend, I'm like, bro, what is going on? Tell me what I need to know. He's like, you need to ask him yourself. Sunday, it is Pokemon Go Fest this weekend, right? I decided to go out and do that. I sent him a very, very long message around 1:30 p.m. after I arrived where I was playing Pokemon. And I said, hey, I feel like I have to be vulnerable right now. I don't like being vulnerable to somebody, but I hope you have something to respond at the end of all this. I said, I'm not expecting you to change who you are or be at my level of preference for communication, but I don't know where I stand with you unless you let me know. So I guess it'll be easier if I tell you where I am. And I said, I don't know if I like you, but I like the idea of you. I want to find out. And that just comes from, hanging out, going out, and grabbing food. I said that we could get food and stuff. There's so many places that you wanting to try that I enjoy, which is like the list of stuff that I circled on the map the previous time. I said, when we went out the other day, I realized afterwards that I'm not totally comfortable with you. And, that all comes with time and getting to know each other better. I'm still nervous with you. And then I brought up how I think it was July 4th after he dropped me off when we were talking about like getting to know each other, which by the way, he gave me his hand to hold the entire drive back. I said, you told me the other night that you don't want to hurt me. What you should have also said was you don't want to waste my time. Because this is what's happening right now. He's wasting my time and my attention. I am busy during all of this. I'm not like sitting around waiting for him, but I am on my phone a lot, so I'll see his messages immediately. So he doesn't respond till 6, but I saw that he's read the message around 2:30 or 3. He says, yeah, I don't want to waste your time either. There were a lot of things that didn't match between us. I'm sure you noticed that as well. One thing I didn't like for sure was when you removed me from Instagram for that reason. And at least I gave it a try. I am down to stay as friend and get food, Those were his words. I respond with, oh God, oh man, I wish you had told me that the Instagram thing bothered you as much as it did. Because he was just like, nah, I'm good, right? And I explained to him, like, I only have 50 people on Instagram. Everyone on there I've known for over 10 years. I shouldn't have added you in the first place, but we were holding hands and my brain was confused. And I said, I might need some time to get over whatever we had, but I will be hungry in a few weeks. Please ask. And he says, I will ask if you want to get food. And these are his words exactly, okay? I think it's better we stay friends first, because that's how you get to know each other more, And that's actually how anything starts too. I gave a thumbs up to that message. I sent this to some people and I'm like, is he trying to imply like, let's get to know each other and then maybe we'll date? Me, no. This is it. You're closing the door. That door is locked. We're painting over it. I'm going out a different door, There's no windows. I said, yeah, Kate, I would like that. And I said, if we're good enough friends, I'll introduce you to my mom. She's literally my favorite person, blah, blah, blah. Because I have some insider information about him, something about his family life. And I really want to take care of him. I really want to be friends with him. And I really do care about him because he's such a sweetheart when it comes to other aspects of his personality. And that is where the story ends. That happened yesterday. This was a month plus a week long, so 5-week flirtationship. What could have been, right? But I think we're at different points in our lives, if he had the same intentions as I do in looking for a partner, he would have been more attentive. I think his focus and my focus are a lot different right now, and that's totally okay. I still think very fondly of him. He's such a cute person. I adore him so much. Just have to let some of these, my brain is going wild, and I really like him thoughts fade away before anything else happens. I think he'll be a lovely friend. Thank you so much for watching. If you didn't watch all of this, there's a recap on Instagram. It's much shorter. And my phone is officially out of storage space. I'm doing something very exciting. Next week on the 24th, I'm going to the Gilroy Garlic Festival. So hopefully I will delete enough things from my phone that I can record that. I will be going by myself, so it's going to be really annoying trying to find all the foods. I'm considering bringing like a to-go box just so I can dump everything in there and just like finish it that day. I will be driving, so that will be fun. Thank you so much for watching. I will let you know the next time I have a flirtationship.